So so what we have planned for today is using Fibonacci. I will try to do it the last time, but we couldn't get it done. Please just let me know if you're having trouble hearing me, then I can adjust things. Um, excuse me. Just disclaimer. I have cold, so you'll be hearing me cough a bit more than often as we progress. So don't be distracted by it, please. I apologize. Now, I'm going to be teaching us today, I'm going to be showing us Fibonacci, how you use Fibonacci with your support and resistance, and how you also incorporate that with your breakout. I know a lot of people teach Fibonacci, a lot of people have seen it, how they seen a lot of people use it, but what I'm going to do, I'm not going to really, like I did the previous class, I'm not going to really dig down into the origin, the inventor and all of that. You don't need all of that information to trade really. What you just need is how to use it. So Fibonacci, like every other tool, is a tool. It's a tool. You only use it to analyze the market. It is not a crystal ball. It's not supposed to tell you. Um, it's not supposed to tell you that you're going to win this trade, no matter what happens. It's just going to guide you. It's not just supposed to show you where you enter trading and where you exit trade at. So it's in another way, in another word, it's more or less like your support and resistance, their low key support and resistance, because they show you where price reverses and where price um, tends to break, important price areas in the market, really. So I'm going to show you how you use it. It's really, really simple and straightforward. But like every other tool, you need to practice, you need to practice, you need to practice to be able to get to know them very, very well. Because the trick is in knowing how to use the tool so that it can benefit you. Now we're looking at, I'm just going to pick up the trade where we're looking at. Okay, I think this is the one Didi gave us this morning. So look at. Let's take that out. For some reason, it just kept hovering over this area. It's not breaking it. So Fibonacci, let me bring my notes out. Um, so how do you? Yeah, yeah. I think I started from last week. This is where I started from. I started from how you start out trading Fibonacci or trading using Fibonacci. So the first point of call you have to know is what is the trend of the market. In short, when you trade the market anyway, when you come to the market for the first time, you need to identify what the trend of the market is, no matter what tool you're using, because that's going to help you to determine whether you're going to win in the market or you're going to lose in the market. Most times it's always advisable for you to trade with the trend because most times you don't know how far a pullback is going to occur. Now, when you're in the market, one of the things you have to realize in the market is that the market doesn't just go like this, neither does it just go like that. Market goes in a crazy manner, zigzag manner. It goes like this, goes like that, and then goes like this, you know. But I think it's be better just instead of um, copying and pasting. Yeah, goes like that, goes like this. So what it's pretty much doing is forming highs, forming lows. So this is what the market does. This is an example of a market movement. So there are three ways that a market can move. For some of us that have done our basics, market can move up, it can move down. That's one. The one I just drew now is the upward movement. Sorry, didn't do that very well. The upward movement. hmm And then this one is the downward movement. So the market can either move up or move down. So this is one of the, two of the three ways that the market moves. And then the third way that the market can move is the sideways, which is what we all know as um, pullbacks. Know them. Sorry, or we know as consolidation or ranging. You see, the market is ranging. You know, so that's what happens. The market can either move up. That's the three trends that the market can have. It can either move up, or it can move down, or it can move sideways. So most times we do not encourage you to trade this market. Most times we encourage you to trade this market, or this market. And when you're trading these two markets, we only encourage you to trade. Excuse me. I just want to make sure that all of these illustrations stick. So when you're trading this market, we encourage you to trade only this market, this market, only that. Come on, only this. Well, so okay, only that, only that, only that, only that, only that, only this, and only this. We do not encourage you to trade this one here, this one, this one, this ones. You see the difference? This ones, because they are called pullbacks. They are pullbacks in the market. So you don't want to trade them. Why? Because you do not know how far they are going to go before they, either continue in their direction or even reverse. You know. So I remember last time when I spoke to us, I said you would always want to. I use this analogy. You want to trade your A and B's. Trade your A and B, and try to avoid trading your B and C's, because B and C is not promising. A and B's, C and D's are the ones, but most times you may not be there to know where your A and B would be when your A and B started. So most times we advise you to trade C and D. C and D. I'm sorry, I wish I had a better tool to use to do this. Would have been faster if I was drawing it instead of, So you want to trade, the market will start like this. Most times when you come, you may not see this move, but if you have done your analysis before this move occurs, this will be your C and D. So when this occurs, what you're waiting for is for B and C to occur. B and C is equal to your pullback that I've already stated for some of us that have been the call earlier, the other time. Fortunately, I didn't record it. B and C is equal to pullback. Yep. Yeah. So B and C are your pullback. So you try to avoid trading this B and C, because you, like I said again, you do not know how far they're gonna go. So B and C are what they call your short-term move. Your short-term move. Your C and D are your long-term moves. So anytime you're in the market, first of all, identify the trend of the market. Steps to drawing Fibonacci. When you are trying to trade Fibonacci, first of all, identify the trend. That's the first thing you want to do. You want to identify the trend. What is the trend of the market that you want to trade? What is the trend? Once you have identified the trend, half of the job is done. Okay, maybe not half, or a quarter of the job is done. So you will notice that in that trend, you will notice what that the market will be making what they call higher highs, and higher lows, or lower lows, or lower highs and lower lows. All of that, you notice all of that in the market. So it's here, it will come down, it's making lower lows, comes down, makes another lower low. If it goes the other way, it's making high, it's making higher high, make another higher high. So that's how the market is going to move. This is much more pronounced here. It's making higher high here. It's this is, you can call this a okay, probably call this high, then higher high, higher high, another higher high, another higher high, another higher high. So this would be in the markets. Yep. So you want to identify your trend, and how do you identify your trend? Real simple. The same tool that you use to draw those other ones that I showed you, your trend line. You pick that up. If the market is below your trend line, use that trend line to draw where your market is at. Assuming we don't have this market yet, you know. Oh, sorry. Assuming we don't have this happening yet. So when you come in, you see this happening, you know, you see this, it's going up. So use this to draw that, make sure that at least two of these points touch the trend. That's good. One is touching here, one is touching here. This one is fine. At least two of these points touches this. So when this market or when this price is above your trend line, then you are in an uptrend. When this price is above your trend line, you are in an uptrend. Now, when you come in to the trend that you notice something like this, you know, if you try to draw that same thing on the higher, do it the other way. You see, it won't be able to do it because you need to do this to get the high, the how's it called now? The I'm having a brain freeze. You want to find whether the market is on an uptrend or a downtrend. So if it's an uptrend, your trend line should be going up. If it's in a downtrend, your trend line should be coming down. So now you've seen that when you see the market and you draw that trend line on price, what do you see? You see the market coming down. So anytime price is below the trend line, then that is a downtrend. That market, what does it mean? It means you have to sell the market. It means it's a bearish market. The same thing goes here. Once the the price is on top of the trend line, is above the trend line, what you want to do in this market is to buy the market. Try to avoid the temptation to sell the market, especially when you see something like this, you want to jump in, but there's nothing tells you it's going to come so low because look at this, for instance. It came, but it didn't touch here. It went back up before finally coming down. So it's like what emotions could have set in when you saw it coming down. You jumped in thinking it's going to come down, but because it didn't come aside doing this, you would have jumped out of the market, not knowing that it's going to come down again. So to avoid all of that, the guessing game, just ensure that you only trade when do your bullish, buy the market when it's in an uptrend. Try to avoid selling when it's in a yeah, exactly. That's the way you increase your probability. That doesn't mean that you're going to win every time when that happens, because of things like reversals, because of things like ranges, because of things like news. They would always interfere with the market, but then it gives you a higher probability of winning in the market. Now, back to Fibonacci. So how do you draw it? First of all, um, well, it doesn't sound good. So identify the trend in the market. After you have identified the trend in the market, locate the highest point of that trend. So now I'm just gonna do this so that I can change the order. So okay. So now let's assume, I don't think this is a very fun. I can use this one. Sorry. Okay. This one. Now, one thing I wanted us to bear in mind, like I said, Fibonacci is like every other tool. It doesn't have a magic wand. It's not like a crystal ball that will tell you that you're going to win every time in the market. So you have to use it in combination with other tools as well. That's why I'm saying, as I told you, that you have to use it with your breakout strategy and your support and resistance as well. You know, so like every other tool, they are not 100% effective. They will not give you winning every time. But the more you use it with other tools to confirm, the greater your chance. Even at that, you still have to ensure that you employ proper risk management so that you do not get beaten in the market. So let me look for one place. Let me work with this one. Okay, I'll work with this. This is on a downtrend. Okay, so first of all, what am I looking for? Identifying the trend. The trend is a downtrend. Excuse me. The trend is a downtrend. Why? Because as you can see, it's coming down and it's below my trend line. So that has been identified. So the next step is to identify the highest point of that trend. That trend, I can say that trend probably began here because it came from here and it consolidated here before beginning to drop. So I can say this is the highest point of the trend. So first of all, what I will want to do is to put a horizontal line, to mark the highest point of that trend. Highest point of that trend. So the next thing they want me to do, thing says, is for you to mark the lowest point of that trend. At this point, assuming we don't have all of this, the lowest point of this trend would be here. Let's assume we came in and we saw this in the market. This is what we saw in the market. So this is the highest point of the trend, and this is the lowest point of the trend. Remember the principle we are doing with we're dealing with A, B, BC, and CD. This is our A. The highest point of that trend will be your A. To be your A. Yep. The lowest point of that trend or that move or that price will be your B. So what you're looking for now is your C. Your C you would normally not see because when you come in, the market is moving. You would normally not know how far your C is gonna go or where it's gonna be at. You would normally not see it. That is where Fibonacci comes into play. So once you've identified your C, Fibonacci is supposed to be there to help you identify your D, which is supposed to be your target, where it's supposed to go to. Now, a point of note, yes, Fibonacci is supposed to give you where your target is going to be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will always give you that your target 100% of the time. I'm giving us this disclaimers over and over again so that we should not just depend on just Fibonacci, because I've been burnt a number of times myself, just knowing Fibonacci is good enough for me, So once you've identified your A and your B, which is the highest point of that trade, that price, and the lowest point of it, then you pick up your Fibonacci tool. On your MT4, it's there. If you do not have it on your MT4 yet, it's probably still in the back office, so to speak. So what you want to do is just to right click on any place on this toolbar. When you have done that, go to customize, and then on the left hand side you will see it there, Fibonacci. Right now it's not here because it's already here. If you didn't have it, this is what you're going to see. This is what you're going to see. Yeah, you probably see it here. Yep. As you can see, it's out of here right now. So what you want to do is just to click on it and then you insert and it comes here. As you can see, it's back here. So you close it. The same goes for every one of these other tools that you want to, because if you see, I have my Fibonacci retracement, I have my Fibonacci expansion, I have my drawing tool, I have the ellipse and square tool and rectangle tool and all of that. So if you want to find any of these tools, just right click on anywhere on this toolbar, go to your customize, and then pick anything that you want. They're all here on your left hand side. If you work with any of these tools, you can just pick them and insert them and they will all come here. You can also arrange them, move them up or down depending on where you want them to be on your toolbar. All right, so now After you have identified that A and B, what you want to do now is to pick your Fibonacci tool. Now, because you're dealing with a downtrend, because your market is in a bearish market, it's a bearish market, it's a downtrend, you want to draw your Fibonacci from top to down, top to bottom, top to bottom. Take note, top to bottom. So if you were drawing, if your market was a bullish market, you will be drawing your Fibonacci from bottom to up to the top. So take notes, because your market is a bearish market, is in a downtrend. You want to draw your Fibonacci from, or not, from top to bottom. Yeah. Yep. Hold on a second. My computer is really acting up. My wife is in the study, so okay. Now, what you want to see in the market is the area where price stopped moving up, where price stopped pulling back, and then continued where it was on its original direction. What do I mean? So if price was doing this, and then for some reason started doing this, so you want to wait for it. You sit on your hands, you wait for the price to keep going. You know, when it gets to where it's supposed to get to, where they have destined for it to get to come back down, then you can enter and then take your profit wherever price is supposed to get to. Yep. You know. Now, how do you know? First of all, before I go to how do you know, I want to also draw to your attention the fact that this Fibonacci has numbers, has different numbers. It has 0, 0.0, 23, 38, 4, 50, 61s. Normally, we don't have the 75 here. I had to put that one in. I have 88, I have 100. Now, these are resistance and support zones, areas in the market. They are your hidden resistance and support. How do I know this? For instance, now let me take this line. If I draw it here, for instance, and probably move, let me change the color so I can see. If I draw that line in one of those areas now, you know, and I move back, you would see that it became an important area for price. See, tested it. You see, tested. So this is an important area for price, because you can see price came back. When it came there, it reversed. When they say something is important to price, means that it came there, it had a reaction. So look at what happened. It came, it was dropping like wildfire. By the time it got to that place, it started having a reaction, started forming a flag before it continued. So that is an important area for price. So like I said, it's the same thing. Fibonacci are just lines, they are just hidden support and resistance lines. You can try something else. It's not fluke, it's just really what it is. Like Oren will say, I can't make these things up. See what happened again? Price came, reacted here, reacted here, reacted there. That's another one. The two prices I've written, reacted here, you know, came here, jumped up. You notice again, came, reacted here, reacted. So they are all important support and resistance lines. Look at this. It came, retested that line, broke out of it, retested it, and then jumped. The same thing happened here, broke out, retested it, and then jumped. So they are all important lines, important zones to price. So they are nothing but your support and resistance lines. It's just that you don't want to draw a million support and resistance lines on your chart not to make it too um, clumsy looking. So now what the rule says that price is always going to turn from these areas, these support and resistance areas, these percentages, these ratios. There's a general rule that says that when price drops, when it wants to do a pullback, it's going to always give you 50% back of the drop. When it drops, it's going to always give you 50% back of that drop. But like every other thing, there is nothing that is certain. It said it's going to give you 50%, but if you look at this, what happened? It gave you more than 50%. Because of some people that do that love to do sell orders, sell stop orders or buy stop orders. This can be a very good um, tool for you. So once you are in the market, you already set your sell stop at your 50% fib ratio, knowing that price is going to come there, and when it gets there, the trade will enter you into the market. Now you have to be careful because, like, look at what happened. It went past that. It touched the 61 before coming down. If you're not over leveraged, you wouldn't really need to be worried about a thing because it's just going to give you a little pullback before dropping. So you can even set what's it called now? You can set sell stop orders on each and every one of the lines. Can you already know that it's gonna give you 50% back when it falls. So when it comes here, you get entered into the market. You probably had one here as well, just in case get entered into the market. But because it didn't get to this point, your sell stop orders will not trigger. It didn't get to this point, your sell stop order will not trigger. So, but these two ones would trigger. So that's for some people that tend to use sell stop orders. But for some of us that don't use sell stop orders, you want to apply a strategy to be able to know where how if the pullback is complete. One of the best strategies that I like to use is my breakout line. So me, I love the flag. So when I see this kind of move, I get flaggy, get that, draw that down there, and I move with the market. So if the market is going, maybe probably I was here, market came in and didn't break out. If it went forward, I'm gonna keep following it. I'm gonna keep following the market till where the market stops and begins to break out. Now remember the rule. The market has to break out of that trend line that you have created with a bullish candle, bearish candle, a large candle, so to speak, and then it closes below it. For this one, it's below because it's selling. It closes below it, and then it begins to form another candle. This would have been a valid trade. You see, but what happened? This would have been a valid trade as well. What happened? Every time it breaks out, it forms inside. It breaks out, it forms back inside. None of them formed outside. This broke out sweetly or went back inside. The same happened here, but this one, look at what happened. Immediately broke out. It closed below, and then the next candle began to form, and that candle was a bearish candle. This is where you enter your trade. This is where you enter your trade at. So you know that it retraces at your 61%. Now, for short-term profit, if the market retraces at this 61.8%, your short-term profit is to pick up this tool here, the draw rectangle tool, measure it all the way from this top here. Take note, measure from this top here to that point where it pulled back, and it pulled back at your 61.8. This is where it pulled back at. So it means that your target will be from 61, that's 61.8, measured down. Boom. So this would be your take profit of how many pips again? Now, if you just assume you entered from here. Not bad. 24 pips. All you need in the market is 10 pips. You got 24. It's good. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now that was one way. Now another thing to also notice is if price breaks any one of them ratios, for instance, as it was coming, it broke this ratio, came down, it's definitely going to go to the next ratio. If it breaks it and closes below, it's going to go to the next one. If it breaks it and closes, it's going to go to the next one. That is the way it works. It just works like support and resistance lines. If it breaks, it's going to go to the next one. If it breaks, it's going to go to the next one. So you always want to note it. For instance, if you look at this, it broke this, it came to this next one. It broke this, it came to this next one, it broke this. And if you draw your expansion, which I'm going to show you, you would see how price keeps moving. Now, that's one way of finding your target. Your target would be you draw your Fibonacci from, draw your rectangle from here to there, then measure, use that measurement to draw from that point where you turn back. That would be your TP. I know some of us have seen me draw this rectangle on Fibonacci a number of times. What I'm pretty much trying to do is to identify where my take profit would be. So that's one. Then another one that I learned from my mentor Orans, he says that anytime the market pulls back at 23, at 38, 50, and at 61, I think it got to 61 here, it will always give you an expansion of 161. It will always get to your 161. Now, by 161, what do we mean? Now, that's where your Fibonacci expansion comes to. Fibonacci expansion is just the opposite of your Fibonacci retracement, because it just shows you your Fibonacci retracement shows you your pullback, where the market is going to pull back from. Your extension or expansion shows you where it's going to eventually get to. So the rule says that when you want to draw your Fibonacci expansion, you pick the tool. That's this one. The same thing happens if you do not find it here. Right click, go to customize, and then you locate it on the left. It should look something like this. You know. Uh-oh, what have I done? Okay. Okay. So you can't find it here. So by the time you click on that customize, you come here, you would see it. This is a Fibonacci expansion. Then you can put it, insert it in there. Remember, you can move it up and down to determine where you want it to be. I just want to, okay, I'm going to put it close to this Fibonacci. I know, because sometimes I make a mistake and click the wrong one, so I'll just keep it the tools away from each other. Okay, so how do you draw expansions? Just like you draw the retracements. So delete this. I'll bring this out, and the same way, take it from the top of that candle to the bottom of that candle. Make sure this is what you're looking for. Looking for this candle. I'm looking at the bottom of that candle. And then when I have identified that candle, now this leg here, this is the leg. I need to drag this leg to where the market retraced. It retraced at the 61.8. You see? It retraced at the 61.8. I do that again. Delete. So I pick the two, I draw it from the top here, the A, or the highest point of the market. Then I pull it down. I make sure that it is, look at my tool, I'm still holding it, and I'm bringing it down to the lowest point of that candle that I'm working on right now. So it's there. And after I've done that, what I need to do now is double click on it, because I need this leg. Right now the leg wasn't on, see, the leg was on 50. I need it to be where it retraced. So I click on that and drag it all the way to 61.8, because that's where the market retraced. Yeah. So now what the rule says is that if the market retraced from 23, retraced from 38, retraced from 50, and retraced from 61, the market is always going to give you 161 back. And 161 is your so Fibonacci expansion ratio, which is this line here. You can see it for yourself. 161. If this wasn't in the way, I should see it clearly. Hope you can just get a bit bigger. Yeah, can you see it? I'm gonna delete this so you can really see that it's the line. So it's supposed to give you back 161. That is what the rule says. And if you can see what happened, it really did come to that 161. So if you stayed in the market, so it means if you started here and it retraced at this point, what it's saying is that don't worry about every other retracement and pullbacks. Just putting your TP at 161, which is supposed to be excuse me, sorry, which is supposed to be at 0.96590. This is where your TP should be if all things remain equal. But disclaimer again, the market will not always play out like this. Maybe 80% of the time it plays out like this, but you would only want to use proper risk management if you're going to sit down, if you're going to do this, wait for it to do this. So it doesn't turn on you, because sometimes it doesn't get to 168, 161 before turning back. But that is what the rule says. If it retraces at 23, 38, 50, and 61, then it's definitely going to get to 161. Yeah. But like I said, your take profit are your next Fibonacci levels. So you can scalp it. You can scalp it. Remember again that the higher your time frame, the more accurate your trades will be. So if you were here and it comes down, maybe you notice it breaking out. Fine, just probably let the first one go. You know it's gonna get to that first one. Once you enter, ride it to the next Fibonacci and probably take profit. Now look for what it's gonna do, because look at what happened when it got here. What did it do? It broke out. You know, it broke out. It broke away. It didn't just drop. You know, so it had a reaction. So you want to take profit at this moment, because if you go down to the smaller time frame, you start seeing green candles at that point in that area. Let me see if I can locate it. Mm, okay. Okay. Did you see what happened? Okay, this is gonna be challenging because of But did you see what happened when it came in? It had a reaction. It had a green candle. So at every support and resistance areas, you would see green candles forming. Look at this again. Look at this again. So it drops when it got to that place. It had a reaction. It dropped when it got to that place. It had a reaction. That will always happen in every support and resistance lines you encounter in the market. So always take note of that. Now, so if I was to take profit, I will keep coming. Now, the moment I start seeing um, green candles, that's opposite candles to where I want to go to, I will leave the market. Let's say I was in this trade, I wouldn't even bother taking profit yet. I'm just gonna let it run, because all I can see is just a week or two. I let it run. But when I start seeing this kind of form, now I've been taught to always look out for two opposite candles. Now, if this was a bearish market and I start seeing green candles, two of it, at least that gives me an impression. It gives me a reason to believe that a pullback is happening at the moment. So what I need to do is either I take profit, or I move my stop loss to entry, or I close partial profit and let the rest run. Now, that is that one. So let's assume we've done this, we've drawn that, we found our B, we found our C. Remember what I said, that your C will be where the pullback ends. Your C will be where the pullback ends. Your D will be your TP, where you decided to take your profit, will be your D, which is naturally where the market pulled back again, where the market had the next reaction. That would be your next, that would be your D. You are expected to have taken profit from that point, you know. So when you see another low in the market, that is where you draw your next Fibonacci. So let's assume I've done this and I'm satisfied with what I've gotten here, you know. So what I need to do now, what will change now will be, this will now become hold on. This will become okay, this will become, put this aside. This C will become my A. Why is it my A? Because that's the highest point in that trade. That's the highest point in the market before the market moved back. Remember, market is forming higher highs and lower lows and all of that. So that's the highest point of that higher lows, sorry, of that market. Hmm? Before it turned back, before it dropped again. It did this and it went up, and at the highest point of it, it now started coming back. And remember, Fibonacci says you always have to draw it from the highest point of the market to the lowest point of that market. So I would assume that this is over now. when you finish drawing that, just delete your Fibonacci for that trade, or you can drag it down whichever way you please. So the highest point of this trade will be that point. Then I'll bring my 2 down. Most times I don't need to draw this rectangle. I just pull it from top to bottom, and my lowest point would be where the market turned back. Yep, which is this. See? So this will be my A, and this will be my B. And what am I looking for? My C, where my market turned back, and my C. How do I identify it? Fibonacci. Thank you very much. Then I pull it from my top here, take it down. I make sure it aligns with those 2 lines. It doesn't align. Oops. Sorry. Excuse me. Sorry, please excuse me. Okay, so now remember. Oh, sorry, I need to make this thing align with this Fibonacci doesn't seem to align. I will make sure that it aligns. So I draw that, ensures that it aligns with that. Stop acting up. Aha. Yes, that's it. Now I have that. I have this. What am I looking for? I'm looking for my C. My C would always be where the market turns, pulls back. But remember, you will not always know your C. We are assuming that this market hasn't formed. All of this part hasn't formed. So what do? We wait for the market to keep forming the bullish market, bullish candles. We just keep going up. It will get to a point where it will stop forming bullish candles, and then it will start dropping, start forming red candles, the bearish candles. The highest point of that market will be our C. One other way to know that is to use what? Your trend line. Remember flag? So we start drawing. So let's assume I was here. See what happened here? This would have been a fake out. I would have, thought this was the highest, because what did you notice? It did this and it jumped out. Who knows? I would have taken this trade, But if I wasn't I wasn't over leveraged, I would not jump out, because look at what happened. It came down. I would have entered at this next candle, and then for some reason, but if I entered at this next candle, let me see how many pips it gave me before turning back up. Not much. I probably would have stayed in, and then look at what happened. Went back there, and then look at what happened. Went back there. If I was emotional, I would have said, "Oh, I'm gonna run out." But if I remember the rule, one of the good first rules of Fibonacci is that if it doesn't take out the A, then it is still a valid trade. I repeat that. If the pullback doesn't take out the A, then it remains a valid trade. What do I mean? See what is happening. The market will keep coming. It will come to 23, then jumps to 38. I'm still good to trade this. Jumps to 50. I'm still good to trade this. Jumps to 61. I'm still good to trade it. I'm not panicking. Jumps to 75. I begin to sweat. Jumps to 88. Now I'm in trouble. But as long as it does not go out of to break this point, I'm still good. I may be sweating, but if I'm following the rule to the letter, at this point I'm still good. I know with one of the trades I think we did EJ. We all did EJ. Scott, myself, and Eddie, we did EJ. We saw it come to this point. I know some of us left it, but it got to this 88 and then came back down massively. So that was just one of those times people, the smart money and big money tried to stop hunt a lot of people to clear our surpluses. So, but the rule is this: as long as it doesn't take out this A, it is still a valid trade. So I would stay in the trade. If I was properly risk managed, I wouldn't really be bothered. But most times, I wouldn't even let the market come this far. If I had a 0 0.1, 0.5, or a standard lot size, it wouldn't even come this far before I get out of the market, So, but look at this. If you stayed in the market for a while, and if you did this and it didn't work the way you wanted it, allow your pick your trend line and keep drawing it till you see what you want, a proper breakout. So when it broke out, look at what happened. They're bleeding. I remember, if you remember the rule of 23, 38, 50, 61 expansion, what would you do? You would bring your expansion to see where it's gonna get to. Now this is assuming you hadn't seen this first move. But if you had already seen it and you'd already drawn your 61, 161, then there's no point doing the second one because it's the same move. It's gonna get there eventually. So I do this, I drag it down again, make sure that this is aligning here, because the point is to make sure that I align here to the lowest point of that trade. Then I can now bring this trade. I would say it's difficult to say we're really talking. My stuff. Hear me? Type yes on the platform. You can still hear me, please. Yes, I can. Can you still hear me? Please, can you type a yes if you can still hear me? Fine. Okay. Let me confirm that I'm not speaking to myself. Audio. Okay, should still be working. Okay, is everyone still on the call? I can say from you're still there. Who else is still on the call? Can you guys still hear me? Hello? Hello? Can everyone hear me? Okay. What I'm gonna do, since I don't know if you guys are still there, I'm just gonna finish up with this, and then I'm gonna post the video when I can, so you guys can see it. So remember, like I said, when you do your extension, your Fibonacci extension, let me delete this and do it again. Expansion. So I want to drag the Fibonacci all the way from here again. I drag it down here, which is where the um, the low is. And I've identified that. Then I can now double click and pick this to wherever the low occurred. I think this low probably got to my 50%. I'm just gonna summarize it. 50%. It was near there. That's the closest it went to. So I put it at my 50%. And now what do you see? If you wanted to do the two take profit strategy, maybe the short term one, you pick up your 50% to, then drag it all the way from 100 down to 50%. Yeah, then double click and then pull it down from 50%, and that will be your TP. That will be your TP. This will be your TP from that point down here. How many pips is that? Let's assume we entered this market. That was, yeah, 27 pips. 27 pips, and we're looking for 10 pips. So that's number one. Then the second one would be where your 161 is. Why? Because it retraced. It is within the 23, 38, 50, and 61. This is where it got to. So your take profit would be at your 161, which would be this line here. Look at this. Did it get there or not? Yes, it did. But let me see how long it took for you to get there. So that's another thing you have to bear in mind. So from here, it took 11 hours to get there. How do I know it's 11 hours? If you look to the numbers in the three group of numbers there. Remember the one in the middle, the first three is your pips. The first two numbers is your number of hours. So 11 took 11 hours for you to get to 161. You know, excuse me. So that is how you draw Fibonacci retracement and expansion. And remember again, like I said, you would always need to work with your support and resistance lines. And I remember sharing this indicator with us For some of us that don't have that indicator or these indicators, there are three of them, you can always let me know, then I'll share with you again. So if you drag this on here, I don't need to draw support and resistance lines. They will be drawn by themselves. Okay. Okay, this didn't get here. Don't know why this didn't get here. Okay, maybe I went too far back into the past. Oh yeah, still there. So it means that, let me reduce that. So for this will be a very free trade because look at where the next support line is. So all of this will just be a very good trade. So you can use the support and resistance lines to to look for your zones where market pullback. Look at them. When it got here, it had a reaction, it dropped. When it broke, it came back, retested, and then jumped. When it got here, had a reaction, came down, had a reaction, it went up and had a reaction. So your support and resistance lines are just your areas of pullback, areas of reversals, areas of take profit, areas of stop losses. So that is what happens when you use Fibonacci in the market. Yep. So that's me doing your bearish move, assuming your Fibonacci was your market was in a bearish uh, condition, it was going down. Now let's look at it. If I was looking at a bullish market, let me see. It's pretty much the same thing, only this time around your Fibonacci is drawn the other way around. Okay, let me look for a good one. Like I said, the Fibonacci is just a tool. The market will not always obey Fibonacci, just like it doesn't obey every other tool. Why? Because you're using it in the market. Everyone is using it in the market. Big money is using it in the market. Smart money is using it in the market. The corporations, every one of those big people, they are using it. So they know where you want to take profit. They know where your stop losses are. So they will do whatever it is to ensure that you lose in that market. You know, that's the idea. You just need to come to that realization. It's not fraudulent. It's just the way it is. People they have to wipe out all the people that have the amateur traders from the market, because that's one of the other ways they make money as well in the market. Someone has to lose for someone to win. It's just like poker, you know. So let's assume we was trading this market. Let me look for a. Okay, I think I can use this one. Yeah, let me use this one. Now, remember the rule. The rule is you first have to identify the market to be either in a bullish market or a bullish trend or a bearish trend. We've looked at it in a bearish trend. Now we want to look at it in a bullish trend. First of all, is it a bullish trend? Yes. Why do we know? Because if you draw your trend line, your price is on top of your trend line. The market is going up. So when that is identified, can get that out of the way. The next thing we need to do now is to find the lowest point of the market. Remember, we're doing for the bearish, we're looking at the highest point of the market. So we look for the lowest point of the market, then pick a horizontal line, then draw that there. That is the lowest point of the market. Now, the next thing we want to find now, what is the highest point of the market? What is the point where the market began to pull back? In that, assuming we don't have this knowledge, because this is in hindsight, assuming we don't have that knowledge, you know. So if you look at this market, come on. If you look at this market, you see what happened. This is the point. You can see this is one point that it pulled back, but if you notice, it's only it was just short-lived. It wasn't really. It's this second one that showed a major pullback. Why? Because you can at least see two candles. You can at least see two red candles, two or more candles would definitely be a better indication of a pullback than just one candle. So this would be my highest points at that point in time. So I would put my line there. Yeah. Remember, my lowest point in this case will now be my A. Just gonna draw that there for reference purpose. I put that there. then the highest point will be my B. Remember, for the bearish, we did it the other way around. The highest point is my A, the lowest point is my B. But for this one, the highest point is my B, the lowest point is my A, because the market is going from down to up. Now, having identified my A and B, what do I need to do now? I need to draw my Fibonacci. Now, remember when we were drawing for the bearish, what did we do? We drew it from top to bottom while the market was coming down. Now, because the market is going up, we're going to draw it from bottom to top. So those are the two main differences. And make sure you draw it up until where you have your B. Voila. That is your market. Yep. So when you have identified your A, identify your B, what do you need to identify now? Your C. You guessed it. Why? Because that's your B and C will indicate your pullback. They will tell you how far the market pulled back, before continuing on its original direction. Now, because we do not know where C is, we can look out for two things. Now, if it pulls back, we keep following the market till it will keep showing the red candles till it stops showing the red candle and begins to show the green candle. The green candle would mean that it's beginning to go on its direction. Two things you can do. So look for the highest points of that, or call it the lowest point in this respect of that pullback. That will be your C. That's the point where the market began to stopped falling and continued on its original direction. Or the same way, use your trend line to draw your flag, like I've always said. So you draw that as your market, and then draw the next one here. So what you're really looking for is a breakout of that trend, a breakout of that flag. That's what you're really looking for. And how do you trade a breakout? Ensure that the market is fully broken out of that trend and closes above. In this case, above, because we are dealing with the bearish market. If it was the bullish market, if it was a bearish market, closes below. So this is above. So when you see price break out of that trend line and closes above, do not enter yet, because it could fake you out. Wait till it closes above and then forms a second candle, and the second candle, you would enter on that second candle. So if this was a trade I wanted to take, we wouldn't enter here, we would enter on this candle here, and then we can ride it up. And now remember the rules, two rules. Like I said, how do you find profit? Your TP. When it retraces between your 23 and your 61, you can draw your rectangle from your 100% down to that point where it retraces. Remember, we did it for the bearish market, so I'm going to do it again for the bullish market. Now, so I'm going to draw my rectangle from this point. That's the lowest point. That's the 100%. Yeah. So I'm going to take it all the way down or up to where it retraced. Where did it retrace? At my 38.2. Let me take this out because this is going to get in the way. Delete that. So this is where it retraced up to. So I double click that, then I drag it from that point, from my 38.2 down. This will be my TP. This here will be my TP. Yep. So measure it from there, assuming. So that would be 43 pips move. So that would be my TP. If I wanted to do a short-term TP, just drag it from where it retraced and take it down to where it's supposed, where the rectangle gets to, So that's number one. Then remember the other one, if it retraces between 23.6 and 61.8, then you can use your expansion. Now, not that you can't use expansion in any of the other levels. Expansions are also hidden support and resistance zones. They are just there for you to take profit at. Price would always either reverse from them, break them as well. So you can draw them while you're even drawing but you really need them to show you your TP after you have identified your C in the market. Now I know where my C is. Why? Because this is where it turned back. C is always where the market pulled back. sorry, stopped moving down, stopped pulling back, sorry. So I would draw it again from my low here to my high. Yep. And then after I've done that, I will now pull the leg, you know, all the way to where the market pulled back. In this respect, it was the 38.2. So I put that there. As simple as that. Then they say that when you have done that, my TP will now be 161.8. Why? Because it is between the 23 and the 88. Sorry, 61.8. So my TP will be 161.8. Did it cross there or not? Yes, it did. Did it cross there or not? Yes, it did. We can't make these things up. Look at what happened. Went all the way from that point to that point. Fantastic, isn't it? Now, for some of us that want to be patient in the market to let that happen, this is what is going to happen. But I'll put a disclaimer out there again. It will not always happen like this all of the times. It will not always happen like that all of the times. Excuse me. Okay. So that means you have to take partial profits as you go in the trade. Do not leave profits in the market, because nobody knows what is going to happen, So that said, you can see if you follow the rules to the letter, you come out with 120 something pips from this market because it retraced at 38.2. Just know that your next take profit will be your extension 161.8. Yep. But let's assume you are not doing it by you're not going to wait till that happens. So you've taken your profit from the first TP. Remember, you did your TP at this point. You took it at the 100%. Now you can, from the next, remember your A's and your B's. Your B, did I delete B? Oh, I deleted everything. Your C will now become your A. Why? Because it was the lowest point the market got to before it began to the market retraced to before it continued on its original direction. Remember, we identified A, B, and C. Identified A, B, and C here. A, B, and then C. Now this C that we found out here, which is the lowest point of that market before it continued, will now become our A. The C will become our A. Then the point that the market got to before it began to retrace will now be our B. I would say that because if you notice, just one can do, just one can do, just one can do, so good. So where we began to see really good move was really this place. So I'm just gonna put it here because I saw two candles here. So that would be my B. That is where the market began to pull back to, began to pull back properly. So that said, what I need to do now is to draw my horizontal line from that point, the lowest point, yep. And then I'm just going to delete too many lines so it doesn't confuse you. Take this out. So, and then pick my horizontal line to the highest point of that move. Yep. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So what am I looking for now? My C. And how do I find it? You guessed it, Fibonacci. So pick that tool out and then bring it down here and draw it from bottom. Remember, it's a bullish market. You have to draw it from bottom to top. Then you put that there. Hold up. Excuse me. What did you notice again? The market got to that point, and what did you start noticing? Started pulling back. I pulled back to this point and then jumped up again and came back down. So it got to the lowest point it can get to before it began to go in its direction. So I would identify that as my C. I will identify that as my C. Or I can use my trend line to draw my flag. Real simple. This doesn't fail, to always show you Not doesn't fail. It fails sometimes, but it's easier to do than to it shows you things easier than most of the other tools. Naked forex is the way to go, uh, apparently. So I do that, and when I do that, I sit on my hands. What am I waiting for? A breakout, you know. So moment I see a breakout of this candle and I enter on the next candle, what is going to happen? I'm going to take profit on my next high before the market begins to retrace, which would be, yeah, how many? 50 pips, you know. Or remember the other rule, I draw my Fibonacci extension. Why? Because I've identified my C. So I pick that tool, I bring it over here, and then I draw it to my B. Now this is assuming I'd not already drawn it here. Assuming I'd not already drawn it here. But if I'd drawn it, there's no change really. You know, if I the higher probability trade will be if you identify when it's beginning to move. You know, but if it's already gone this far, your extension will not give you a valid trade. Why? Because the market has gone so far, it may begin to retrace. I mean, sorry, to reverse at one point. So, but if you saw when the market began to reverse because it was coming down and it began to reverse. So always, if you can identify your very first reversal, then your extension will increase. It increases the probability of you winning based on that 60, 23, 38, 50, 61 extension rule. So let's assume I'd drawn my extension. I would draw that, then I'll make sure that I pick the leg and I drag it all the way to where I would presume it retrace, which is my C. I would say the closest it went to was this one, this 38, not even my 25, not my 20, because it broke that 23. So I put it on my 38. Now what happened? My next take profit should be 161. Did it hit it or not? You guessed it. It hit it. It hit it, even broke it. You know, hit it and broke it. All right. So that's how you draw your Fibonacci tracement and extension and take profit. Yet again, your Fibonacci ratios are take profit zones, they are reversal zones, they are pullback zones, they are places where the market will have a reaction. So as they go up, so you want to either take profit or ensure you move stop loss to TP to ensure that everything is intact. So you don't get stopped out, you don't get reversed. Again, the higher your time frame, the more accurate and more probable you're going to win that trade. The lower they are, you have a lot of noise and can have a lot of fake outs. So also it's always advisable, but sometimes because we don't have that much um, capital in our accounts, that's why we would not want to trade the higher time frames, because of drawdowns, because the higher time frame offers its own level of risk as well, which is higher than if you were trading on the lower time frames. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this session, Fibonacci. I don't want to make it too long, so it's easy to watch. So, do you have any question? Any question whatsoever? No, it doesn't have to be on Fibonacci, because I know not everyone trades Fibonacci. Some people just want to stick to the support and resistance. Some people just want to stick to the flag patterns. So do you have any question? Any question whatsoever? Okay, thank you very much, Loretta. This is lots of good information. Yeah. So this, by the way, is a double bottom for some of us that trade double bottoms patterns. So you see that move. See that move. See, it shows a double bottom is more or less like your W. See that move. See that move. Then you see that move. But this would have been a very terrible double bottom because what happened? fell for jumping up. Normally, you would expect it to jump up immediately, got here, but it fell and then finally broke out and started jumping up. You know, so for some of us that trade patterns, I've already shown us this items. This it's already there. It's there on the in the library. Okay, let me go to the library instead. Where's the library now? There's a lot of great resource in this library. You know, a lot of great resource. Some put this one. So you see as trade flags. There's the bearish flag. There's the bullish. Then all of these other ones, I still call them the same thing. A rally, a pullback, and a rally. A rally, a consolidation, or a pullback, a rally. Same thing, a rally, consolidation, or it forms a triangle, then it rallies. So the same thing, same here. It drops, a pullback, a drop, a drop, a pullback, a drop, consolidation, a drop. The same things would happen. Then this is the double bottom. So the way it does that, forms a double bottom. Then you enter normally on this. You wait for that breakout to occur, then you enter on this candle. But then your stop loss is massive depending on how high the length of that W is. So this is where your stop loss would be. You have a double, triple top, some call it triangle or triple top, 1, 2, 3. Then you have a breakout, So you have a head and shoulder as well. Head, shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder. So if it breaks out, if you look at this, this will tell you where you enter the trade. But remember what I always say: if it needs to break out of a trend line, then you enter on the next candle, not on the breakout candle. It needs to break out and close below or above, then you enter on the next candle. So if you go in here, there's quite a number of items here that would be very good for you. This information, these YouTube videos are fantastic to watch. There's trading NFP, how you trade NFP. I put that out there. Then these other ones as well, showing you the head and shoulders, the rectangles, the breakouts, the same thing. It will do this, it will consolidate and drop. Do this, consolidate. So, but then, even if you do not know where the market is gonna go, you don't jump in the pullbacks or in the consolidations. Wait till you get a pullback. Sorry, wait till you get a breakout. If you look at my let's see, most of my trades that I set out, you would always notice I would always say pullbacks. Wait for it to jump out. Like this, I said wait for it to come out because it's gonna drop 50 pips. What did it? 65 pips. What did it do? That's 65.85. Okay, that's 65. It dropped. Then wait for it to do a pullback, break out and do a pullback, then trade. And when we did, what did it give us? 90 pips. So this one we're waiting for this 188 pips. So what are we waiting for? A breakout, a pullback, and then look at that 188, but it hasn't formed yet. The same things. Most of my trade, you would always notice that it will break out. I tell you to break out. It will form a pullback. Then you enter and trade up. If it doesn't do that, if you see me do things like this, just know that I'm telling you, that's the hidden movements. It's gonna do this and do that. But if it doesn't come down, then it's gonna break out and then pull back and then you trade. So just to help you understand how I draw my charts. So remember, very very importantly, when the market breaks out of a zone or a support or resistance line, you to always go back to test. That's not always, let me not use the word always. It may not go back to test it, but it will always do a pullback. Now look at what it did. It did all of that, and it broke out of that zone or that area. Yeah, it's a zone because it's a strong zone. You can see the bullish candle, very strong candle here. It broke out of it and then did a pullback. It shot pullback, then fell. And then what it do? It went back there to test it, and when it tested it, it fell, kept falling. Market would always do that. So you look for things like that in the market. It's another example. They formed a double top. So what I was really waiting for was for it to break out of here. This was me, you trying to trade that other double top that I showed you, the W, the reverse double top. Sorry, reverse W, which is the M. So it does that, did that, It did that, then I would wait for it to break out of this, then do that pullback, then I will enter my trade at this point and take my TP. My target would always be the height between here and here. I would measure that and then use that as my height, which would be my TP. Yeah, but like I said, your library contains all of that information. Library is loaded. If you go on there, so many things in here, to blow your mind. A lot of things. Pictures speak a lot, thousand words. See, shows you it breaks out of a wedge. The TP, yeah, it's between the length of this wedge and here. The same thing happens here. You can see that. You can see that. You see all of that. Same thing happens here. See, broke out. The TP will be where it started from, then measure it from here to here. So a lot of resource on here, people. So just go in here. I think this would say it would do that, it would do that, it would do that, then you start seeing a breakout. It would do that, it would do that, it would do that, then you see when it comes down, or expect a breakout. A number of resources. For some of us that trade divergence as well, this is an example of what divergence looks like. So just go on here, just look at them and study them. The more you learn these things, the more you get used to them. You have to look at them to be able to identify them. The more you look at them, the more you see them when they occur in the market. Yep, it's another example. If you see me, I do this a lot. If the market is ranging, if there's a range in the market, the length of that range would always equal your TP. The range of that length will always equal your TP. The same thing happened here. Look at this head and shoulder as an example of what I was talking about. You see head, shoulder. The length of that head would always be equal to the length of your TP. So here to here, if you use that measure your TP from there where you entered, that will be your TP. A lot of great resources. See, the same thing happened here. See, and from here down here, that's your head and shoulder again, and then that length will be your TP. For the people that trade the Andrews fork, I don't trade the Andrews fork. The other one. All right. So there are different items on here. So if you take the time to go through the library, you would be amazed what you would find. And then whatever you do not understand, you um, have to ask your questions. That is where I come in. I'm supposed to be here to guide you, support you. So all right. So thank you very much. Do you have any questions? If you have any question, just let me know. Otherwise, we'll call it a night. Any questions? Excuse me. Okay. I would assume you don't have any question. So thank you very much, guys. I would export the recording and share it on the platform so that we can watch. I'll probably have to upload it onto YouTube first. It's easy to see. So thank you very much, everyone, and do have a fantastic day. Thank you, Loretta. Have a fantastic night. God bless you. Bye bye.